What's up, everyone? It's Bones here. In today's video, I'm going to be covering Morphtronic Telefon, a card that got announced for Power of the Elements. And this came out of nowhere, and quite frankly, I don't think many people are talking about it, even though I know that we don't have the dice cards yet. If you haven't seen what this little thing here is capable of, just give it a moment, and you'll find out shortly. But anyways, before I begin, if you happen to enjoy content like this, clicking those thumbs up and subscribe buttons would be greatly appreciated, as it goes a long way in supporting the channel and shows me that you like content like this. So for the first replay here, you're going to see that I have 3 Gadget Gamer, a Foolish, and Telefon, and it's because any of these 4 monsters along with Foolish is combo. So much so that you can even make Appaloosa before going into your Hulk, as you'll see momentarily. So I'm going to start here by normal summoning the Telefon, using the Foolish, and then using the Telefon in order to special summon back the other Telefon, and now I'm going to read it. It says, while in attack position once per turn, you can roll a 6-sided die, and if you do, gain life points equal to the result times 100. Then you can special summon one Morphtronic monster from your graveyard whose level is equal to or lower than the result. At this point you can basically stop reading, but for the video I'll read the rest of the effect. While in defense position, once per turn, you can roll 6-sided die, excavate cards from the top of your deck equal to the result, and if you do, you can send one excavated Morphtronic card to the graveyard. Place the rest to the top or bottom of the deck in any order. So, as you see, you're going to want to special summon them in attack position so that you can keep bringing them out. And more importantly, you'll see that there's a once per turn right here, but there's no name attached to it. There's no you can only use this effect once per turn on it. It's just once per turn. And what this means is that you can go into Link Karibo here and then use the other Telefon in order to special summon the other one. And now I'm going to go into Dagda and use the Telefon, chain the Dagda to get the Scythe, and get Telefon again. Now I can tribute it off for Link Karibo, use the Telefon on my field again, and now I can go into Appaloosa. So I'm going to use the Telefon here, and keep in mind I'm going to do the bare minimum because the point of this replay is just to show the spamming capabilities of Morphtronic Telefon. So of course you can make bigger boards, and you can even take them in different ways, but I'm going to end on a somewhat simple board because I didn't want to turn it into a convoluted combo. So this is going to be the bare minimum end board right here, as you see that you have the Masquerena with the Telefon in order to go into Unicorn with 3 cards that you didn't use in hand. You have the Hulk to go into Wonder Magician, pop the Scythe, and get Baron. And you made Appaloosa before all of that. As you may have noticed, the combo at the start is a little bit susceptible to hand traps, and Dark Ruler is pretty strong against Telefon decks. That being said, it doesn't mean it doesn't play Crossout. I think that if you're going to play Telefon, Crossout is the way to go. But if there's something that you've probably learned from the first part of the video here is that this is basically Level Eater 2.0. Now for the next portion of the video, I'm going to show you 2 of the variants that I've came up with that may or may not be able to work here in the TCG. As you can see, the very first one is going to be Punk, and it's because Chaos Ruler can mill the card. And on top of that, I want to point out that if somebody were to Ash the Teleport or any part of the Punk combo, leaving you with these precise cards in hand, then you've successfully baited out a hand trap, and you have full combo after that with the Telefons. So I thought that was a cool thing that the Punk engine could do for the deck, as you'll see that I'm going to use the Foxy Tune here, sending the Ash, and another thing that you can do here is you get the 5 mills off of Chaos Ruler in order to potentially mill a Telefon. So this is a little bit RNG, as are both of the variants, and it's because we don't have the other dice cards to make it somewhat more consistent. But with that being said, how explosive it is still nothing to laugh at, in my opinion, because you may end up having to sit across your opponent for 5 to 10 minutes watching them combo with this card here, and it's definitely going to steal some games. As you saw here, the Punk engine is also able to get you into your Telefon with Hulk, but that does circumvent being able to make Appaloosa first, and it leaves you vulnerable to Nibiru. So as for the third variant, or the second variant here, and you'll see that this is Tearlaments, and again, the idea is similar in which you kind of want to RNG your way into it, being able to play 3 Gadget Gamers, 3 Telefons, the Foolish, the Machine Dupes. That's 10 slots right there with the Prosperities. While it's obviously still going to be luck dependent, it's not as infrequent as it may seem, especially since you can play with the tier limit part of the deck and still make a little bit of a board and have room for hand traps. So to start with the third replay here, I'll go with the Gadget Gamer, search the Telefon, then I can use the Prosp. And the one cool thing about this here is that you can get Shaylin, and through Shaylin, you can send the Telefon from your hand to the graveyard and normal summon another Telefon and get combo like that. But as you'll see, I banished these cards here in the extra deck, and it's because Curious and Griffin are usually side deck. Access Code and Nightmare are going second. The second Link Karibo does come up through the combo, but it is expendable if you cut your board short a little bit. And then the Kick Kalos, which is just another second spot that you can kind of ditch because you can recycle the first one. Now, that being said, I'm not selling these decks as anything good or meta relevant, but the point of this entire video is just to show what Telefon does and maybe some of the variants that we might see with it, because unfortunately without the dice cards, we won't be able to see a pure version of it until we get those. And I have a theory that we'll get them in the next set, just based on how we got the Duelist pack shoved into the Power of the Elements. And with how early we got the Dark World release, I kind of wouldn't be surprised if they start shoving these cards into the TCG, but I'm not a magician and I'm not going to say that's going to happen, but it's just a feeling and I could definitely be wrong about that. And I'm going to use the Hulk here to kind of continue and show off what this deck does. With the tier stuff, you usually do get extra bodies and board, and again, I stopped short in these last 2 combos just because the possibilities are endless, and the main point of the video is to show the spam capabilities. So now I'll take you on to the deck profiles. So the first one that I'm going to show off here is the Punk one, and I think this is pretty standard. The only thing I have to say is that I think for now you have to play the 3 junk box, and it's because in both variants you're going to try to send Telefon to the graveyard through RNG. So this is partially why I say that this build isn't going to be competitive, and same with the tier build. But for the time being that we don't have the dice cards, I think that this may be the way to go about it. Basically, having the Punk engine to get into Hulk early, which can get a Telefon onto the field, is already ginormous. But if a ban list does come and hit Hulk, then that will indirectly hit Telefon a little bit and make variants less consistent. So I do want you to keep that in mind also. So onto the deck profile, you'll see the 3 Gadget Gamer, the 3 Telefon, the 2 Theomin, the 1 Deer Note, the Foxy Tune, the 3 Junk Box, the 3 Prosperity, the 3 E-Tellies, the 1 1-for-1, the Scythe, the Jet Synchron, the Foolish, the 3 Machine Dupes, the 3 Crossouts, the 1 Called By, the 3 Ash, the 3 Imperm, the 3 Dark Ruler No Mores, and the 1 Crow. Onto the extra deck we have the 1 Apo, the 1 Access Code, Nightmare Griffin, and Curious for the deck Devastation or anti-spell side deck plays. The Unicorn, the Hulk, the Dagda, Mask, 1 Anima, 2 Link Karibos, the Zombie Vampire. This could be another Link Karibo. I put this here because being able to get the mill 9 and potentially special summon the Telefon, I feel is something to not be overlooked even if it can give your opponent advantage. Then the Baron, the Chaos Ruler, and the TG Wonder Magician. Onto the side deck, I'm testing out the Artemis Slay here, and I think that cross-out builds are going to like siding this also. As if you play multiple extra deck typings, you can just shove in the one that you don't play, make it have a graveyard effect, whether it be the Adignist or Wind Synchro, it can be Farragut, or any other monster with a graveyard effect that you can send from the extra deck. This could be Entis also. Then you'll see the 3 droplets, the 1 HFD, the Red Reboot, the 3 Deck Devies, and the 3 Anti-Spell. Onto the Tier Punk build, and this one I do want to speak a little bit more about simply because I'm playing the Codebreaker virus for the Deck Devi. But on top of that, the cute thing here is that Shaylin and Hoff can mill 3, and this here can mill 5. So again, it is luck dependent. As you see, the makeup of the deck is extremely similar with the 3 Telefons, the 3 Gadget Gamers, the 3 Machine Dupe, the 3 Prosperity, the Crossouts, and the Called Buys. I think that all of these are mandatory, as well as the Dark Ruler No Mores because of Splite format, and the Junk Boxes, of course, because since you're milling in both decks so much, being able to revive it, especially if you happen to mill multiple, is just such a power play. And then onto the hand traps, you'll see the 2 Ash, the 1 Crow, the 1 Veiler, the Imperm, this is all for crossout, the Foolish, the Instant Fusion, and the 1-for-1 all serve versatile uses in this deck, besides the 1-for-1, which is basically just for Telefon. And then for the tiers, you'll see that I've been using the package that I use in my other build, and I think that this is something that I've come around to like more than I thought I would, having the 1 Rhino Heart, because I've noticed that in a lot of my combos, just with tiers in general, as long as I'm not playing the pure build, I usually just want Shaylin or Hoff to be the bodies, and if I get into Kit Kalos, this special summons Rhino. Rhino ends up being an extra body that I can link away with, or go into another extra deck monster, whether it be Redoer or something like that, and continue to get either the tier engine or the other engine of the deck going. And then lastly, the 3 field spells, which basically just search these. Then onto the extra deck, it's a lot of the same as the previous one. There are some changes you can make, like adding Scythe and stuff, but I wanted to protect myself from hand traps and still have the Dark Ruler No Mores at 3. Then there's the Nightmare Griffin and the Curious, again for side deck. The Access Code and the Unicorn with the Mask, one of the stronger turn 1 Link 2s now, outside of Dagda and Hulk. Then the Codebreaker Virus Swordsman to not only get over Toad, but for the deck Devi, the 1 Anima, the 2 Link Karibos, the 1 Dragos Depelia, the 2 Kit Kalos, and the 1 Kaleido Heart. Onto the side deck, the Nib and the Bell for crossout, the 3 Droplets, Twin Twisters, the 1 Reboot, the 3 Anti-Spells, and the 3 deck W's. But anyways, if you made it this far into the video, I thank you for watching. If you have any suggestions, feel free to leave them down below. If you want to know my final thoughts on how Morphtronic is going to play out in the TCG, while it is extremely annoying to go against just because of the length of time and turns, it's not going to be some invincible deck that makes boards that are as crazy as some of the other decks. And of course that is with the fact that you can make the Apo with the Scythe Lock and whatnot, but there's a lot of points of interaction where you can beat it. Unlike the days of when we had Level Eater, we do have a lot of strong staples, and something that I couldn't quite get to yet, and it's because I probably need more time to think about this, but eventually I might drop a synchro video with Telefon because we haven't seen one of those yet, to my knowledge. So it's definitely locked in the back of my mind, but it'll be something that I would have to come back to. Anyways, I thank you again for watching. It's Bones, signing out.